Hello gorgeous Aquariuses, I do hope that you are well. This is your love horoscopes for July 2018. My name is Bella and welcome to my channel. Most people know me as Bella the Secret Psychic. If you'd like to know more about me, all the links are just down below. And yes, like I said, I am a psychic, and so this reading is a general overview that I deliver with the help of my spirit guides that I've been working with for the last 20 years, where I read energies and tap into things to help you navigate or understand generally what's going to come up for you. So are you ready, guys? Are you ready to see what is coming up in your month? Well, it goes a little bit like this. My guides are saying here, Aquariuses, they're saying here that, because for some of you last month there was this reconnection to the self, but there also was for some of you reconnections or somebody trying to step back in a little bit. And they're saying here that where that applies to you, where somebody did try to step back in, whether it was very bold or whether it was very subtle, my guides are saying here, not just with them, and particularly if you're single, because you have this real inner core strength about being strong and independent and not putting up with any rubbish anymore when you're dating people, or any rubbish anymore from past people that feel like they can just come back in, that you're a little bit, how do I put this? Direct. That was me being polite. I think the word I really want to use is rude. That you're a bit like hold the mirror up to people. So let me give you an example. If you had an ex or that came back and that ex didn't treat you right, and then they come back in, and then when they come back in they're a bit over friendly and assumative that they can just step back in and that you'll just kind of melt and be with them, you're going to be like, excuse me. No. And you might tell them a few harsh truths and some harsh facts that perhaps you've been dying to tell them, or perhaps they wasn't expecting to hear from you. I basically get here that you're a little bit in danger, or maybe the other person's a little bit in danger of being perhaps very direct, because I do get you hurting people's feelings. Now, like I said with that example, maybe it is warranted. Maybe that you are always nice, and in this circumstances you're not going to be taken advantage of, and so that for this time, and more power to you, that you're being very, very direct. But there is this element where my guides are almost saying know when is when, and know when something is goes too far, basically. And so that could apply again if you're dating. How far do you tell somebody the truth, particularly if you are still interested in that person, because it could then cause a fracture between you. My guides are just basically saying here, what you've come to recognise is that you don't want to be a pushover. You don't want to, you just don't want to be soft when it comes to people taking advantage of you, particularly when it is romantic. Now, there's not any implication that just because those people are in your life that they are taking advantage, but it just feels to me that you just want to nip that in the bud as soon as possible. So there is this real thing. You could be in an established relationship, Aquariuses, and it could be that something that you thought had been buried, a while ago in your relationship starts to resurface, and you're just like, no way. We are going to nip that in the bud, because that's not coming back out again. You were just swift, let's say, with your justice. It's a bit like somebody opens their mouth and goes to say the wrong thing, and you're just like, whoosh. You're not having any of it. But like I said, because it's quite, I like you guys, but I kind of like it a little bit too, because it's kind of like, I'm not going to be messed with. I want to have a healthy relationship. I don't want to be taken advantage of. And if it means I have to be a little bit cutting to make sure you stay away and you don't do it, then that's what I need to do. But be careful about going too far with it. It particularly comes out in the first week that you guys are like this. In the second week, because my guides are saying here, this is really weird. How do I put this? Your decisiveness or your bluntness or rudeness to some people that you have been like that with is actually quite alluring to them. They quite like you being a bitch or horrid, just mildly. They kind of see you as feisty, or they see you as a challenge, maybe is the right word to use, a challenge that they want to conquer and get you to see them in a better light. And so my guides are saying they're a little bit like a bug in an ointment. They persist in the second week to try to negotiate their way into having contact with you or a connection with you or something with you. Something like that. And so they do, in a weird way, your slightly aggressive directness is, for some of you, quite appealing to the other person. Like, I don't know, have you ever been in that situation where you have just been like, you know, I know as a female in the past, it doesn't happen so often now, but when I used to walk down the street, I used to have people that go like, "Hi babe, how are you?" And it used to irritate me sometimes, depending on who it was or how they approached it. And so sometimes I'd be like, "No, thank you," and then they would be like, they would take it as, you know, like a challenge, and they'd just keep going. And and do you see what I mean? Like, they wouldn't just be offended; they'd be like, "No, that means I now have to prove to her and conquer her." And they get kind of, I guess, get turned on by it a little bit. There is an element of that happening for you guys. Interesting. I think what my guides are trying to say here, that even though you have this power behind you and this kind of assertiveness, that confidence and that assertiveness to people is actually quite attractive. And you may find about how this shapes you when it comes to romances is that you shouldn't be, my guides are saying here, keeping your inner feelings to yourself or not sharing things because you're worried about rocking the boat. Because what you've learnt that by rocking the boat is that you're heard, that you're still desired, and all of the fears that you thought that would happen don't happen. Quite the opposite happens. I really hope I'm making sense. I get you in the third week considering the offer that you've been given from this other person who is slightly determined not to go away. So I get you considering it, probably because there's a little bit of you that's slightly impressed that they are still pursuing you, considering what you said to them. So I get you kind of considering your options and looking and thinking and feeling about it. I think for some of you, you may give that person their wish. Some, not all of you. And some of you will just not give them their wish. But you do take something from it, which is, again, this understanding that you don't always have to be too nice and too soft to get the best out of people. And it's not me preaching that you need to go around being harsh at all to people, because sometimes being too harsh is completely inappropriate. But sometimes, and I've even been guilty of this, of being so nice that you end up being a doormat or being walked over. You just realise that you can say no and put boundaries, and how important and special that makes you feel, which I think is a great lesson to learn. The guides make me laugh because they're saying here, for those of you that do say no in the third week, that person still doesn't give up. So I'm laughing a little bit. Some of you might think, "Oh God, no, that's terrible." But how do I put this? They're really determined. So it feels to me that if you really don't want them in your life, you're going to have to put more efforts in making sure that they cannot contact you. Or if you don't mind them still trying to pursue you, they certainly want to demonstrate that they want to start from the groundwork up, and perhaps with you paint a different picture or start a new way of going forward. So that might be redating again in a different way or something different happening. But they are willing to be re-educated about how to best work with you to get what they want, basically. You've got some people overseas or have an overseas connection. I think I said that last month, that in particular. So if you're in a long distance relationship, or your partner or ex or person you're recently dating is not originally from your country or has an accent or whatever their parents are from, or any of those circumstances, they in particular do not let it go very easily. So you have an interesting month that does to be focused very much on somebody wanting to be seen better in your eyes, or wanting to do better or be better or return or reconnect. and it's entirely, slightly empowers you in the way that your efforts to push them away only make them more determined to prove it to you. Interesting. Do let me know how that plays out for you, in what circumstances. So anyway, I've been Bella. I really hope that's been helpful. Do like, do share, do subscribe, and do visit me here next month. Next month I am actually away, but you will still have your videos, but I'll explain more about what does and doesn't happen when I'm on vacation in terms of how you can get hold of me. So anyway, you all have a good month, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.